In episode 7 of the RX8 build, I make this beautiful piece of automotive art. And the radiator I've ordered is so big, it doesn't fit in the car. So there's not been a new video for a couple of weeks. I have been making progress, I just haven't been videoing all of it. Some of the stuff I've been doing hasn't necessarily pushed the build forward in terms of driving it and checking that it works. That's one of them. Cool as it is, that's an Evo 7 wing, I think, which looks fantastic. Well, I think it does anyway. Obviously needs a respray, and we've got holes in the boot which need filling in. The whole boot's getting a respray, so, but you know, we shan't get distracted with that. There's been enough distractions with painting things, so that's been one distraction, although it's excellent and I love it. The other big distraction was painting. Spoiler alert, he's orange. And there's a vent in it actually. So I got a bit distracted, so uncover him, messing around with painting the wing. Only one wing, I might add. The other's still black and crusty and in the carport. But progress has been made, and the big bit of progress really is the sway bar. With steering rack, this guy, oh you can't see, that guy, steering column, engine mount, and, it's not on but it does fit, exhaust manifold, all in, barely, but in, and not touching each other. The last major part of the jigsaw up the front really is the anti-roll bar, or people call it anti-sway bar. It's both the same thing. And this is the original bracket where the sway bar bolted on. Oh, hi kitty. Hey buddy. Where have you? Cat's come to help. Hey buddy. What's going on? Yo. Come help me, kitty. So the cat's actually not going to be able to help with this, because like everything on the build, the engine now occupies the space where the roll bar went. So you can see we've got loads of space around here where the bracket is. Unfortunately, I'll turn the camera that way. What we're looking at there is the crank pulley, and right, what are we looking at? This is a little piece of box section, 4mm thick, the same thickness in fact as the original bracket. So all I've done is cut this to the same length, leaving a space at the top. There's a little clip that goes on at the top, you can see him there, so we don't want to get in the way of that, so that can bolt back up. I actually think it goes to the sensor for the traction control, which we're deleting, but just to make sure, we'll leave that blank at the moment. So what I'm going to do is weld this piece on. At the moment both the pieces of metal have been cleaned, wiped down, use some weld through primer on both sides. We're then using a welding magnet to keep it flat, clamped it in place, and I shall spot weld this in for the moment, because I dare say we won't get it right the first time. I'm then going to need a second piece of box, because this does not get us far enough forward or far enough down. But once I've got this on both sides, I can start doing some measurements. I don't think with the second piece it's actually going to be completely flat. I think we're going to have to drop it down slightly, which we're then going to have to measure the steering to make sure we don't, you can't see that, There you go. That we don't start at full compression of the suspension, that we don't start hitting things. So if we do, we'll have to come out and up slightly, but then unfortunately we start to hit the top arm. So there's going to be a lot of jiggling around. Let's move that back up. But for the moment I'm just going to come out off the original bracket the same size. We'll then start measuring from here. It's a lot easier. There's less space to measure and fidget around, and then we'll see what we get. We're making progress. So I've cut our second square tube at an angle to match the chassis rail. It's pretty good, it's quite close, and just at 45 down here. We want as much space in this area for the steering, taking the steering rack out for the moment, but it made sense, rather than cut this flat, cut it up at an angle so we've got more space for the steering. So now this is it's a bit of a loose fit, it's just pegged on at the moment, nothing is welded, it's all just clamped and pegged on, but it fits. Clearance wise, it's actually pretty good, to be honest. We could move this down very slightly if we wanted to. Of course, the further we move it down, the closer to the pulley it gets. But it's good in terms of fitment and getting these in the right place. It's all nice and good. The thing I'm concerned about is the distance we are from the original bracket and kind of how it's put together. I'm expecting this to flex a bit. You know, best case, worst case, it would snap. So I think, let's put the tripod down. No, it's not going to work. We may end up putting a bracket off the main rail here and bolting it here. So this is obviously welded to the subframe, and the frame bolts up. There we go. It's one of the. Oh, hang on, that's terrible filming. There. There's one there. There's another one back here, and there's various other points, like down there, where the frame will bolt up to the body. I think it's going to be worth putting another one in. So this is welded to the frame and then bolted to the body. That should prevent any flexing of this kind of hodgepodge of metal that we've made, and then the only flex we'll get is in the bar itself. And there we go, that's one side done. I don't love it. It's not the neatest solution to the problem, but it's a solution nonetheless. It's going to work, I think, and that's really the main thing. I don't know whether we need these, but I would rather have them on there and actually find that they're not doing a job and I didn't need to put them on, than not bother doing it and then find that the extra stress on this bracket down here is causing it to flex and warp and move around. So we shall err on the side of caution, because, well, we simply don't know. So that's it, that's one side done. We've got to drill a hole through here, and of course there's one on the other side, so we can throw a 10mm bolt through there. 10mm should be absolutely fine, and then it's just the other side to do. Right, back to the radiator. The radiator was so wide it wouldn't fit in between the chassis rails either side. So, much like I had to do with the engine, and you can see the yellow paint still, where I marked it for cutting, I've had to extend that cut all the way down to the front, so the radiator will actually fit side to side. I've also, for a number of reasons, over there, cut the whole front off. Right, why have we cut the front off? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that we don't need it. We don't need the latch because the bonnet will be held on with bonnet pins, so we can get away with getting rid of that completely. The other reason is when we take this engine out, which is actually going to be very soon, to do cam belt, water pump, oil pump, all that jazz, and then put the flywheel and the clutch in, I'd like to be able to put the engine and the gearbox in as one. And by removing this front bit and have a bolt-in sort of removable radiator bracket, if you like, that's going to make putting the engine in and out a whole lot easier. In fact, I kind of wish I chopped this bit out before I started all the fitting of the engine, but you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. So that's it really. We just don't need it. What we do need to do is come right to the side, get some cardboard, make up a template, make it out of steel, weld that in there, do the same on the other side, and then we can have a bolt in and out bracket that we can start to hang the radiator from. And this is the radiator in question, and it's lovely. It's all aluminium. It's actually from for an S14, but speaking to a few people that have done 1uz and 3uz swaps, this is a really good choice of radiator for keeping the engine cool. It's big, and I have to say, it's a really lovely piece of kit for the money. At the time of filming this was about £160 from Japspeed, and it's beautifully made. So I'm really chuffed with this. Hopefully it now fits, but the fitting of the radiator and the welding of the brackets and all that jazz is going to have to be the next video, because it's Sunday evening, it's getting late, and yeah, lots of other things to be getting on with. So that is it for now. Episode 8 will be radiator brackets, the fans, if they will fit hopefully, and then I think we're pulling the engine out.